Welcome back, everyone, to the new world, Aeternum Beta. We're here in sunny Mordor with this amazing view of Mount Doom. I recommend if you're trying to come up here during the beta with as low level cap as we have, you bring some Hobbit fodder or maybe Boromir. I know Sean Bean wouldn't mind taking one for the team. So today we're going to be covering the weapon changes in the beta versus live. There are some kind of changes with the weapons in terms of placement of skills. Sword did get a bigger change than some of the other ones. The two weapons we won't really be going over today will be the Flail and the Void Gauntlet. Those have received no changes in terms of adding new skills, taking skills away, or where they're placed in their trees. And we also won't be going over any of the actual numbers, the stats of each of these passives or skills themselves, because due to the nature of the beta, that could change at any time. Now, I do wanted to plug a website here. They're not sponsored or anything like that. It's just a very nice website that I did find for New World that a lot of people have used over the years. I will have it in the description below. It will be nwdb.info or newworlddatabase.info. You can use it to find builds or make your own. It currently has both live and beta versions of all of the weapons. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Starting off with our first weapon, the Blunderbus. Looking at the Blunderbus, containment tree did get some adjustments. They did flip the order and position between Azoth, Shrapnel Blast, and then Net Shot. These used to be on the left and right side. Now they just kind of mirrored. And then they did bring Net Shot down from being a first tier ability you can get to the middle, the second tier, along with Claw Shot that did not get any kind of changes at all. And then Azoth, the Shrapnel Blast is still at the top with no changes to it. So again, the only one is the Net Shot going from the top to the middle. That's really it. Looking at the Chaos tree, nothing has changed with Chaos whatsoever in terms of where the skills are or if they got new skills or replacement skills. Looking at the Warhammer next, we can see that for Juggernaut, they have swapped the positions of Wrecking Ball and Armor Breaker. Armor Breaker being a first tier skill, now is a third, and Wrecking Ball being moved up to a first tier. Looking over at Crowd Crusher, we can see a similar thing there with the Shockwave ability being brought up to the first tier instead of the second. And then the Clear Out skill being dropped down to the middle instead of being at the top, with no changes to Path of Destiny skill. Going into the sword weapon or sword and shield, depending on how you want to look at it. Over at Swordmaster, this should probably be the biggest change from all of the skills. We now have this upheaval ability taking the place of the previous reverse stab ability. Outside of that big change with that one ability, the rest of the Swordmaster tree remains the same. Moving over to Defender, they did rearrange some of these abilities as well, pushing Shield Rush down to the second tier and bringing Shield Bash up, while Defender's Resolve stay the same, unchanged. Coming into Spear here, the only change being in Zoner, Impaler staying the same. With the Zoner skill tree, they did move the Cyclone ability up to a first tier skill, while leaving Sweep still in the middle there, and then bringing Javelin down. The rest of the tree appears to be the same. It looks like there is some slight changes in how the passives are lined up. Instead of going straight down, you go down and then to your left. That's more of a visual change there and really shouldn't affect anything at all. Taking a stab at Rapier. Get it? I probably shouldn't quit my day job just yet. Looking at some of the skills for the blood tree, there have been some movements. Instead of just bringing some skills up or down a tier, they did move the flurry tree or line from the right side over to the left side. It's still the same, going from tier 1 all the way down through its 4 passives. Nothing has changed with flourish and finish there in the middle. And then they did move Toundo down 1 tier. I'm not sure why they decided to go to that route. Maybe to make the kind of rotation make more sense of which skill you should take first. Going into the Grace tree, we can see the similar kind of adjustments here, moving Flashe from the right over to the left and also bumping it up to the first tier instead of it being on the second. And then the same thing with Evade, staying in the middle, but instead of being a first tier, it's going to the middle, along with Riposte, which is now all the way to the right instead of on the left side. Again, they did do this little kind of down and then left with the passives. Just a visual, it looks like it's just because they kind of ran out of room to display it going straight down and didn't want to kind of have to adjust that big ability all the way at the bottom. Looking at the musket weapon, the sharpshooter tree has stayed the same. No changes in terms of where abilities are placed or what tiers they were left at. However, going into Trapper, there are some changes there between the stopping power and the traps ability. It looks like they did bring the stopping power skill up and then move the traps skill down, which to me makes sense for early on gameplay. You're not really going to be using, the trap ability at the start. You're kind of wanting to just fire off skills and shoot things. And it being on the second tier doesn't mean that it'll take you forever to get it. It'll just take you a little bit longer than what you used to. But other than that, it really won't be a big change. And then Sticky Bomb has not changed at all, being in the exact same position. Taking a look at the life staff for our healers, doesn't look like they have changed anything with Protector and where skills are located. However, in the healing tree, they have moved some things around. Previously, one of the first skills, or the first skill we can get in the healing tree, was Divine Embrace. However, that has been moved down in favor of the Sacred Ground. This really won't be much of a change for people who are wanting to heal, as they will most likely, by the time need to heal, they will have most of this tree fill out anyway. So in the early game, I don't think this changes anything at all for them. Coming into the Ice Gauntlet, the build tree hasn't changed any. The Ice Tempest did receive a small little change with the position of Ice Spikes and Ice Storm kind of being reversed, where Ice Spikes is now on the second tier in the middle, and Ice Storm is one of the first skill you can take. I think this is a good change. The Ice Gauntlet by default already has basically Ice Spikes, or the auto attack that you can shoot out, and having Ice Storm being the first skill you can take is very beneficial when you're trying to level. There are places where you will be kind of in tight quarters and you'll pull way more than you intended to, and the Ice Storm, it would be really helpful to either clear out all of that or help you slow down a lot of enemies and kind of make your retreat. Chopping our way over to Hatchet. I don't know if those jokes are getting worse or better. Anyway, looking at the throwing tree, that has made no changes in placement. However, on the Berserker side, there has been some adjustment. They did leave the actual Berserk ability alone where it's located, so that's great. I really did enjoy Hatchet when New World first came out. It was an amazing weapon, even after some of the nerfs it received. What they did do, however, was they did move the Feral Rush ability on that left side down from the middle to the third tier, and they did move Raging Torrent up from the third tier to the second. I think with how the Hatchet plays, being able to access Raging Torrents a little bit faster probably will help it out more than just being able to kind of leap in at a target and hit them. I think that's a good change in my opinion for Hatchet. Taking a look at the Greatsword weapon skill trees, looking at Onslaught, nothing has changed here in terms of how the skills are placed. However, looking at Defiance, there is a little bit of a difference. Now, the actual passive of the Path of Defiance for the whole tree itself, it has no impact whatsoever being on the left side or the right side, so that's perfectly fine. One of the changes that they did make with the skills, though, is between Calamity Counter and Roaring Rupture. Originally, Calamity Counter was at the top and Roaring Rupture was in the middle. They've flipped that, so now we get Roaring Rupture first. I think is a good change. When you first start off with the Great Sword, you're not really thinking mentally, you know, I'm gonna tank with, I'm gonna block stuff. You're just, it's very Unga Bunga feeling. I'm gonna swing my sword. And even though Defiance is more of a tank stance, getting an offensive ability first over that Calamity Counter, a more defensive ability, is really good in my opinion. Now, Great Axe did receive some changes or updates to both Reaper and Mauler. Taking a look at Reaper first, the biggest ones being Reap itself and the Execute skill. They have flipped those around. Before, Execute used to be a tier 3 ability, meaning you wouldn't get it until you invested a fair number of points into Reaper. Now it's at the very top. You can get this as your very first ability, which I think is good thematically. You know, when you're picking the Great Axe, you want like a really cool, impactful skill, and I think Execute does that. They did move Reap down from the top or tier 1 slot all the way to the middle, and then the charge ability is now third. I think by the time you need the charge, it being in third makes sense. Going over to Mauler, they did bring up Whirlwind. People love to spin, and it shows. They moved that from being in the middle to the top. Maelstrom has taken that kind of flip, going from top to middle, and then there have been no changes to Gravity Well. I think for Mauler and for people who want to play with a giant ass axe, this is really cool. The changes they've made, getting you some of these really nice looking abilities early on. This next weapon kind of fits our location here with Mountain Doom in the background. It's the Fire Staff. Now, with the Fire Staff, the Pyromancer received no skill placement changes. However, the Fire Mage tree did. When I think of a Fire Mage, I do think Fireball as the very first thing, and they did move that from being a third tier skill at the bottom to the first skill you can pick in this tree, which I think is a fantastic idea. Meteor Shower would be the second thing I would think of, is just raining fire on people. That hasn't changed, which is a good call. And then that Pillar of Fire that used to be the first skill you can get in Fire Mage is now the third, which is perfectly fine as well. Going into Bow, which is by far my favorite weapon in the game. Any kind of game I play, I always try to go for a bow user. If there isn't one, I try to get something that is similar, sniper rifle, things like that. Looking at Skirmisher, I think the changes here are pretty good in terms of skill placement. They did move Rain of Arrows from being in the middle or second tier to the first skill you can get instead of Evade Shot, which used to be at the top but now is in the middle. I think is a good change. When you're first starting off with the bow, Evade Shot didn't really feel that great. I think that Rain of Arrows will feel a lot better for new players trying to play bow. The Poison Shot has remained unchanged and is in the same spot. Looking at Hunter, no changes in terms of skill placement here. Everything is the same as it currently is in the live version. And with that will wrap our weapon update for the New World Aeternum Beta. Thank you all for watching and supporting. Be sure to look out for future content that I'll be posting regarding the beta. We do still have 2 more days. I know our Monta Conta is limited with our level cap only being 30, but once the game does go full release, I will be creating more of that in October. Again, thank you everyone, and if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.